Yeah, no, I had to redo the cheese because Polly just nicked it all. Anyway, I've got to go. I've got to go to drinks. Bye. Hey, hi guys. You can see the little criminal in the background. Little Miss Polly decided to help herself to my little cheese platter just a couple of minutes ago. We do have electricity, Craig. It's so modern here tonight. We have lights. We have thieving poodles eating cheese. I've managed to get my little cheese platter together again. Whoop! Oh no, I lost the chocolates. That wasn't very good, was it? Not for you. Hi Barry, how you going? And Joe, hi. And Rob and Deb, lovely to see you. Still working on those duck eggs. Michael, look at you going with the chats and stuff. That's fantastic. Hi Kay, hi Isaac. Cutty, hi, how are you? Kevin, Emily, lovely to see you. The McFalls, hi. And Renee, hi. And Paul and Sarah, hi guys. Awesome to see you. Everyone's very much on time. I've just seen a beautiful picture of Angela's tasting platter, and it's much more stylish and classy than mine, but that's okay. That's what I expect. Hi, Sam. Hi, Shell. Karen, lovely to see you. Sue's still frying spring rolls. Well, I hope she's got the cheese and the apple and the thing going on. Jeremy, good on you. Yes, everything's working. Everything's so far so good. We don't want to jinx ourselves, but you know that's all right. Hello, Jeff. Hi, Ben. I know it's great, isn't it? You can see out the door. And hang on, I'll turn you around. But actually, it's a bit of a mess. Oh, you don't mind a mess. The dogs and the cats have been playing with the toys and the cushions, so you can actually see that the sun hasn't quite set yet. Jill will kill me for showing you the living room with the cushions and the toys all over the floor. But anyway, she's going to come back in from feeding the cat in a minute, and she won't even know what's happened. So, hi, Jill. Everyone can see you. So, hi, Jeff. How are you going? And Michael, lovely to see you. Yes, it's going to be very, very different tasting this week compared to last week. Last week was kind of frenetic and crazy. I've taken a few deep breathing exercises this afternoon, so I'm a little calmer. Also, we have electricity. You can see a shiny metal silver plate behind me. Richard won a little award last week, so we decided that we should display that from the Mornington Peninsula Neurons Association. That's the President's Award for exemplary service to Mornington Peninsula. So that's really awesome. Congratulations, Richard. We'll have a little glass of wine to celebrate that as well. So what are we doing tonight? Well, we're going to really go back to the basics 101 of food and wine matching and what does it all mean, because people talk about what goes with what, and you have to have white wine with fish and red wine with cheese, and it's not that simple, but it's also very much down to personal taste. So if one of these food and wine matches that I say shouldn't work or don't work for me, if you're tasting it going, oh, that's delicious, then just ignore what I say and see if you can work out what it is that you think is delicious. And that's what we're going to talk about a bit today. So let's get some wine in the glass. The Devil Ben Creek Pinot Noir 2018, which was very popular last time we tasted it. There we go. The computer's managed to focus on that instead of me for a minute. So let's get some of this in the glass, and then I will tell you a tale of wine and food matching and tasting. So let's have a little sniff and a little sip of the wine by itself with no food, just on its own first. So little swirl. Little sniff. Lovely and juicy, fresh, bright, just like we remembered it from last time, right? Okay. One of the tools that I asked you to bring was a glass of water. Now, this is for just clearing the palate because we're going to put a lot of different flavours, textures, tannins, fats on our palate. And in between times, this and your plain crackers are going to help you to recalibrate your palate so that you can then move on to the next bit of the tasting. So, buy on apples, sell on cheese. What does that mean? Well, apples have quite a lot of acid in them. And acid in the apple, there's some sugar there, but there's a lot of acid there. And the sugar and the acid tend to kind of cleanse the palate and make the wine have to work harder to excel. So buy on apple means that if you have a bite of apple and then you taste a wine and it still tastes good and it tastes balanced, then that's a really exceptionally good wine. And you've kind of tried to reveal any faults that might be in the wine or things that you don't like about the wine, and you haven't been able to find anything, or the wine has still tasted nice after you've combined it with apple. And so you're tasting it in really difficult circumstances, and if it still tastes okay, then it's worth buying. So buy on apple, sell on cheese. So cheese has a lot of fat in it, and it will coat your mouth with that lovely cheesy salty fat. So salt and fat as compared to sugar and acid. The salt and fat will coat your mouth. It'll make the wine seem softer, rounder, easier. And so if you're selling wine and you're saying, oh, well, this wine, it might be a bit sharp with some apple, but I want to sell it to so-and-so and I don't want them to notice that it's a bit sharp, give them some cheese. It rounds the wine out, makes it taste a little bit more delicious, a little bit smoother. So let's give this a little try. What I've asked you to put together here is 2 different types of apple, 2 different types of cheese, and 2 different types of chocolate. We're going to leave the chocolate till last. So if you've eaten all your chocolate already, then shame on you. We're going to start with the apple, and we're going to start with the red apple. So I've got a bit of Pink Lady here. If you've got sort of bigger chunks, that's fine, or thinner slices, that's okay. What we're going to try and do is combine, take a bite of apple, chew it up, swallow it, then take a sip of the wine. So let's do that first. Nice sweet apple, nice and ripe, bit tangy. Have some wine. Tastes all right. The other reason for using apple is that a lot of times when wine merchants were out at a winery and they were being shown lots of wines, then the wily wine producer, if they were a bit dodgy, they'd give you the best wine first and then they'd move on to the slightly less good wine, and your palate gets tired and less able to differentiate, and kind of all the wines blur together. So apple helps to cleanse the palate in between tasting a whole lot of different wines, and helps to waken up your taste buds and make you feel more ready to cope with a little bit more wine. So red apple and Devil Ben Creek Pinot Noir, I think, actually goes okay together. So I would buy this wine on this apple. Have another go. This time, have a bite of the apple. This gets a bit gross, so just roll with it. Take a bite of the apple, chew it up a bit, and then while you've still got apple in your mouth, take a little sip of the wine. It's all right, I'm not going to show you what's in my mouth after I've put the wine in. It's just about take a little sip of the wine and chew the wine and the apple together. Oh, hi, Sonia. It's not as nice, is it, Renee? It pulls out because as well as apple having lots of sugar in here and lots of acid, the skin, when you're chewing it, the skin will fight with the bitterness, and the tannins in the skin of the apple will fight with the bitterness and the tannins in the wine, and it brings out the tannins more. Okay, that's that apple. Now, if you've got some Granny Smith apple or some cooking apple, it does taste like medicine. Hey, isn't this fun? It's okay. The wine's going to taste good again, I promise. Have a sip of water or a bite of one of your crackers. Sip of water, neutralize the palate. and get your Granny Smith apple or whatever cooking apple you've decided on. So I'll let you in on a secret. I don't eat apple very often because apple tends to give me a bit of a tummy ache, particularly, not a little bit, but if I have a whole apple, like a whole lady, what did I say this was? Pink lady apple, I'll enjoy the first few bites and then it'll just make me feel a bit tummy-y. And so I tend to avoid apple, but when I do eat apple, I'll often eat Granny Smith, but when it's been cooked. So cooking the apple will soften it, add a little bit of sugar to it usually when you cook it, and so that will make it sort of more wine-friendly, tummy-friendly, all that kind of thing. But when it's raw, when you've got a Granny Smith that's raw, this has got a very different flavour profile. Have a little bite of your Granny Smith apple without tasting the wine. I'm going to be chewing at you a lot tonight, so I apologise. I'll try and do it elegantly. This has got less sweetness. It's got a little bit more sourness from the acid. And acid that you find in these apples is malic acid that you also find in grapes. And it's one of the things that and we should do this all over again with some Chardonnay, because it's fascinating to do this tasting with Chardonnay with exactly the same things that taste completely different. So when people talk about malolactic fermentation, we do it for all red wines. So the malic acid in green apples is the green apple flavour that you get in a Chardonnay that hasn't been through a malolactic fermentation. Sometimes champagne will have that appley flavour to it, and that means that you've got malic acid still in the wine. A red wine will go through a malolactic fermentation, and we change the malic acid to lactic acid, which is the acid that you find in cream and milk and cheese. We'll come to cheese and chocolate in a minute. But with a more sour apple, I'm imagining the wine's going to taste maybe a little bit less fun. So let's find out. Have a little sip of the wine after you've chewed up and swallowed that green apple. I've still got an appley flavour in my mouth, and the wine tastes sharper. The cherry fruit's coming through still, but the acid is much more obvious. And it tastes to me, I'll be interested to see what you think, Jeremy, being a winemaker and anyone else who gets involved in winemaking out there. It tastes to me like Pinot Noir that hasn't been through a malolactic fermentation, which is really weird. If you're feeling brave, it's pretty crazy, isn't it, Shell? If you're really brave, put some apple in your mouth, chew it up a bit, and put a bit of wine in, and it will make the wine taste, I imagine, I haven't done it yet today, but I imagine it will taste the wine taste even less fun. So if you don't feel like doing that, I totally understand. But if you're feeling brave, we've got a whole bottle of wine here. It's okay. Oh, that's really sour. And the tannins in the apple skin are bitter. It brings out all the bitterness, all the sourness. It's really awful. So I think that's really unfair on that wine. I reckon as a wine merchant, you'd go, okay, that's all right. I know the wine's good. It's really, that apple's really taking it to a not very good place, but that's okay. It's really bad, isn't it? A little bit like turpentine. I agree. A little bit mentholy, bit like floor cleaner, Shell. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's really amazing, the influence on the tannin. It brings out I don't speak Welsh, Natalia. That's great. Karen, you have to do it another time. It really brings the tannin out to the fore, and it makes the wine taste like you're kind of chewing almost on like lime skins or something like that. Okay, let's have a sip of water, have a little recovery. It's okay, Kate. I think that the lesson there is, if you're drinking Devil Bean Creek Pinot, don't pair it to Granny Smith apple, particularly raw Granny Smith apple, but it's not going to work very well even with a dessert. While we're letting our palates come back to equilibrium, somebody has sent me a photograph of what their eating. So I'm just going to have a little look so that I can compliment you. Okay. Oh, my gosh. Who's that? Kate. Wow, that looks amazing. Good on you. Excellent. Now, while you're just letting your palate recover a little bit, you'll be okay, promise. Yeah. Yep. Karen, that looks lovely too. Good work, team. And Shell. Shell, I'm glad to see you've gone a bit crazy with everything. Oh, good. Good. You're not going to starve tonight. Glad to see it. Okay. Right. Has everyone got that apple flavour out of their mouth? Have another sip of water. I nearly finished my water. This is not boding well. Now, let's go back to the wine. Beaury, the nose of the wine just generally, I think has beautiful cherry fruit. It's really cherry fruited. There's a little bit of spice, but it's really bright and crunchy. There's a little bit of strawberry in there too, but it's mostly cherry, black and red cherries. I really love it. But when you have the apple, it kind of smothers that cherry character, because most of what you taste is actually you smelling the wine in your retronasal cavity. We did talk about this once a while ago, but I think it's worth revisiting because it's pretty interesting and a lot of people kind of struggle with that. So what we were seeing with the apple was that we were adding acid and sugar and tannin into the mix. And so it was making the wine seem on the palate. So the tongue can taste acid, sugar, bitterness, which is what you get from the tannin, and what's the other thing? Salt. So we'll get to that a bit with the cheese. Everything else, and texturally, fat will change the texture on the palate. Yes, Jeff, I think you do get more red curranty kind of characters tasting after the apple. And yes, Jeremy, tannin and acid really they fight with each other and they exaggerate each other. It's a very interesting combination because you've got tannin and acid already in the wine and you add more tannin and more acid and it really just gets out of control really easily. So apart from the things that you can taste with your taste buds, which we're about to coat with cheese, everything else that you taste, you're actually smelling, if that makes sense. So if you have a cold and you can't smell properly, then everything will taste a bit flat. But if you've got a lot of acid in something or a lot of tannin with bitterness, you'll still feel that on your tongue, or you'll access that through your taste buds, but you won't get all the other retronasal aromas that hit the tongue as well. So it becomes a very different tasting experience. I hope that all makes sense. I need to put a bit more wine in my glass. Let's go to the cheese now. So we bought this wine as a wine merchant with our apple, giving it a really hard time. And now we want to sell it to somebody else. And we're like, okay, well, it's lovely wine, but let's make it even yummier for people by serving it with cheese. Oh, that was the fire cracking. It's all okay. We're not exploding here. Yeah, the dark cherries, and you come back to it after your palate's kind of got over all that apple tannin. It's gorgeous again. So matching it with apple, matching it with kind of high acid food, that kind of thing is going to bring out more of the acid, is going to bring out more of the tannin in the wine. Cheese is going to soften the wine, but there are all kinds of different cheeses. What I asked you guys to put together, and this is a little warning that a lot of I'm being a bit mean to you tonight, but I think it's really fascinating. So Pinot Noir is a wine that goes really, really well with very specific types of cheeses. And, you know, you get a lot of people who say, with the cheese course, we'll serve a red wine. And because Pinot Noir is so popular, we'll serve Pinot Noir. And a cheese course should have at least 2 or 3 different cheeses involved. And so let's do a hard cheese, a soft cheese, and a blue cheese. And every time I talk to people about doing wine dinners, and we end up, we usually at the end of the dinner, you get to, oh God, that was the peacock. So there's all kinds of wildlife going on tonight. All the animals are a bit upset because it's quite windy down here tonight. So Pinot Noir doesn't go with all cheese. Pinot Noir goes quite well with just a basic cheddar cheese. That can work quite well. Let's start with that one. So I asked you to bring a cheddar cheese and a blue cheese. So we'll leave the blue cheese for the moment. I'm just going to use my little knife, chop off a bit of cheese. Feel free to put lots of cheese in your mouth. I'm just trying to be able to talk after I've put some food in my mouth. So a bit of cheese. So cheese is fat and salt. It's dairy. It's made from milk, whether it be cow or sheep or goat. It's salted and it's dried, fermented, solidified. So you've got the cream that brings the lactic acid, so softer acidity. You've got the salt that makes your mouth sort of go, oh, yum, that's delicious. And you've got the cheesiness that kind of works quite well as well. So a little bit of cheese in your mouth. And cheese kind of gets you a bit stuck up as well. So I'm going to, before I put it in my mouth, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do next. So cheese in the mouth, give it a bit of a chew, and then have a sip of the wine. Swallow the cheese first, then have a sip of the wine. Chew it all up really well so that you can feel that cheese coating your mouth. It's a bit kind of sticky when you chew it. And then you put the wine in your mouth and you can taste that lovely soft dark cherry. The acid's kind of softened out. The tannins are softened out. You can taste the nuttiness of the cheese, the saltiness of the cheese. It's pretty delicious. And it makes you want to have a bit more wine because the cheese is salty and makes you a bit thirsty. And the wine is cool and wet and has all those lovely fruit characters. So you go, oh, they had a little bit more wine. Here we go. Isn't that delicious? So Comté will work, Cassie, Comté will work really well with this. The Camembert will be, sorry, Polly's just gone mad over here. If you can hear growling and carrying on, that's Polly being ridiculous. I think she's complaining because I'm not giving her any cheese. Polly, come and have some cheese. Come here. Come on. Sit. You can have cheese, but you can't have any wine. Okay, hopefully that shuts her up for a minute. So buy on cheese, sell on apple, buy on cheese. And you can do that thing again. Get the cheese in your mouth, chew it up a little bit, and then put the wine in your mouth at the same time as the cheese and chew that all together a bit and then swallow it. Quite hard to do because you just want to drink the wine because your palate's going yum. So, Katie, I was saying the Comté will go well with this, although Comté goes even better with Chardonnay, but it will go well with the Pinot. The Camembert is going to fight this wine, as is, I think you'll find, hopefully, well, the blue cheese. A lot of people find that blue cheese and washed rind cheeses and cheeses that have like a white mold on the outside, like a Camembert, the mold, whether it be blue mold or white mold, brings a bitterness and a metallic character to the palate when you mix it with red wine. Pinot Noir is slightly more friendly to these types of cheeses than, say, a Shiraz or a Cabernet, which has more tannin and more savouriness, and that makes it even more bitter. There's a sweet fruitedness and a softness and a velvetyness to Pinot Noir that makes it a little bit more friendly with blue cheese and white mold cheeses like Camembert. So if you've got a blue cheese or a Camembert or something soft, grab a bit of that next. Sorry, water first. Water or your crackers, those neutral crackers that I told you to bring along. Have a little nibble on one of those. I didn't have any, so I'll just pretend I have some water. Don't worry, we'll come to the olives soon. Okay, blue cheese. I got, well, Jill actually bought this for me today. Thank you, Jill. Some Blue Castello. Blue Castello is a cheese that is, I think, a great standby. If you can't get to your fancy cheesemonger or whatever, the blue cheese, cashew nut cheese. How's the cashew nut cheese going with the wine? Because I've not tried vegan cheese with wine, which is a real, that's not very good of me, is it? So I'll be very interested to hear if that's how that goes. Blue Castello. It's mild, it's salty, but it's got a lot of blue in it. So put some blue cheese, or whatever your other cheese is, in your mouth. I love Blue Castello. It's one of my little secret cheese cheats. Okay. So if you've had a bit of blue cheese and then a sip of the wine, something like Blue Castello is pretty mild, so you can sort of get away with it. But Adrian, who's a chef, cooking taste, brings the fruit and takes away the acid. Absolutely. The blue cheese is actually, I agree, Laura. Blue cheese is very much it's not for everyone. It can be really acidic, and it can be really harsh. Shush, Polly. I know you want some more cheese, but I'm working at the moment. I'm talking to my friends here on, in the computer. She thinks I've gone mad. Blue cheese, the blue mold will bring it. Everyone's telling me their favorite blue cheeses now. I think that's awesome. Jeff, it does bring out the tannin. It makes it more bitter. So and I think the more, the fancier blue cheese that you've got, Tarago Valley Shadows of Blue is delicious, but I personally think not very good with Pinot Noir. If you're eating blue cheese, Gorgonzola is terrible with this wine. It becomes, yes, the wine becomes bitter after that, because Blue Castello is kind of soft blue cheese. You can kind of get away with it, but Gorgonzola is awful with Pinot Noir. Amanda, I'm so sorry. Dogs barking at each other through computers. It's crazy stuff. Gorgonzola or stronger blue cheeses are really hard work with red wine. I like an aged white wine. I think Pinot Gris or a Chardonnay works okay with blue cheese, but the best match to blue cheese, whether it be Stilton, whether it be Gorgonzola, whether it be Bleu d'Auvergne, whether it be Blue Castello, is sweet wine. Sweet wine. So Sauterne, sweet wine from Pinot Gris, Riesling, something like that. But I do think pomegranate, mint, macadamia, feta, Samantha. Wow. I'm so sorry about Polly. She's just showing off now. Polly, cut it out. Jill's going to come and get you now. Now you're in all sorts of trouble. So it's very much a personal taste thing. I personally don't like blue cheese with Pinot, but some blue cheeses work okay with, yes, Angela and Simon, if you order a cheese platter that has many different types of cheeses, you either have to order 5 different wines or go for a quality aged Chardonnay, a quality aged Pinot Gris, but they're hard to get if you're in a restaurant because a lot of people think that Pinot Gris can't age. I'll tell you a little secret. A fantastic match to blue cheese is vintage port or Australian fortified wine. So I'm talking sweet fortified muscat, or what used to be called Tokai, which is now called Topak, because the agreements with the EU meant that we couldn't use Tokay anymore because it's the name of another very lovely sweet wine from Hungary, which is one of Jeff's favourites. But I think it's really interesting. So some people are loving their blue cheese with the wine, and some people not so much. And I don't think it's a problem. And yes, Kay, the Rutherglen liqueur muscats are just fabulous. The best cheese for Cabernet, Barry, is cheddar, a good hard aged cheddar. Most cheeses are terrible with Cabernet. So there you go. So sweet wine, sweet fortified wine with blue cheese. Give it a go sometime. It will rock your world. Maybe we'll do it. I need your feedback, guys, over the next couple of weeks. You can send me an email to kate@moorooducestate.com.au or just write on the live chat. But I'm thinking about the next tasting box, and we've run out of current release Moorooduc Estate wines, and I think you might get cranky with me if we just go round and round and round tasting the same wines again. Although we'd get very familiar with them, we could do different things with them. So we can do that. But I'm also thinking that it would be fun to have some more guest wines, and we'll see how the Garagiste Gewürztraminer goes in a couple of weeks' time. But we need to work out what we're going to do next, and hopefully we're going to be opening up soon, and we might be able to have people to come and taste Moorooduc Estate wines at Cellar Door. So I was thinking that it might be quite fun to have a look at some wines that have influenced us, some wines that we're inspired by, maybe some Italian wines, some French wines, some other Mornington Peninsula Pinots and Chardonnays. I'd like to keep coming back to, hello Polly, I'd like to keep coming back to Moorooduc on a regular basis, but, I think that we're just trying to work out, there's a few back vintages that we can play with, but what I'd love to hear from you guys is what sort of direction you'd like to go in. Is it important for the 6-pack to stay at $250? Because when it's Moorooduc Estate wine, then we can kind of, slip in the occasional fancy wine and just discount it out for you guys. But if I'm having to buy wine in, then we're going to have to go to a whole nother level of organisation, and I'll have to get pre-orders and then order the wine in, and it'll have to all be, priced out accordingly. And we can do that. It's not a problem. But I just like your thoughts over the next little while, because there's lots of different directions that we can go in, and we can do more wine and food matching and play around with that. I think that would be really fun. Good cheese recommendations. Excellent. And I do think also, because I've been lazy with my cheese selections this week and just got supermarket cheese, I have to also say that there are some fabulous, okay, Michael, that's good. That's good feedback already. Thank you. There's some fabulous Australian cheeses that we should be tasting, and there's some amazing people who, Jeremy, send me an email. That would be awesome. Thank you. Books of back vintages. Amanda, I think that could actually be arranged. We can do something with that. Absolutely. There's some amazing local cheeses, and for those of us who are still in lockdown, there are some really cool people who are doing sort of home deliveries, like little boxes of cheeses that get sent out with their own freezer packs and things like that. So to keep everything, I think that could be right, Angela. I think, compare and contrast a guest wine with a Moorooduc. If you can cope with 2 wines in one night, that's the other thing that makes this go a little bit faster. Or we can taste one wine and then compare it the following week, but I don't know, that might require a bit too much brain energy. There's a lot of people who are doing cheese deliveries, is what I was trying to say, and if you jump online and kind of Google cheese deliveries, that could be very worthwhile. Victorian cheesemakers, Australian cheesemakers doing really, really cool things delivered to your door, and yeah, you can have lots of fun with that. Okay, right. We're already up past the half-hour mark, and we haven't talked about olives and we haven't talked about chocolate. Now, I good work, Kate. Polly, shush. She's a naughty dog. All right, let's keep this going. Have an olive. If you've got a black olive or green olive on your plate, have an olive now. Have a chew on it. The reason I told you to bring olives is that often on the show circuit, when you're tasting, when you're judging wine tasting, and you're no, you haven't got olives, Jill. You've got chocolate coated almonds. That's your dark chocolate, and you've got to taste that with the wine and compare it to the milk chocolate. We're not there yet. Sorry, Mum and Dad. I gave Mum and Dad these. And they do look like olives, but they're actually dark chocolate coated almonds, and they've gone olive. And they're shouting at me at the moment. I'm in all sorts of trouble. Anyway, those of you who have an olive, we don't have olives here at Moorooduc because I wasn't that organised. I forgot to bring the olives. Sorry, but in the show system, the olive will help to clear the palate in the way that apple does, but it doesn't do it in such a nasty, hard way. Oh, Paul, awesome. Thank you. Craig, orange versus Moorooduc. Yeah, maybe. I've had conversations with people. I think it sounds like we're going to stay with Moorooduc for a while. I think that's great. Quince paste with the cheese. Look, Michael, I think quince paste, I don't know, you tell me whether it makes the cheese and the wine taste better. I often think quince paste, if it's with a manchego and you're having a Pinot Noir, then it can work really well because it brings the sweetness of the fruit out a little bit. I think with the blue cheese, it would be better again with white wine or fortified wine. But let's move on from the cheese. It's getting out of control now. So have you had your black olive? Has it cleansed your palate? Are you feeling like you've got rid of all that cheese from your palate? Because in the show system, you get a little plate and it's got some cubes of cheap cheese. It's got usually some black olives and some water crackers, and they're all for different types of palate cleansing. And the black olive gets rid of the fat and gets rid of the richness of the cheese, and just kind of makes your mouth feel sort of a little bit more savoury again. So now that you've done that, have a sip of the wine, see if the olive makes the wine taste better or worse. And you can decide for yourselves whether wine judges should eat olives when they're judging wine. I think it's very good. I agree, Natalia. I think it's really good to cleanse the palate. I'm not sure if they really bring the best out of the wine, so I worry. Polly, come here. I've got more cheese for you. Bribe the dog to stop her from barking. She's so naughty tonight. Of course. A Kalamata olive would be delicious just to cleanse the palate. And now that you've cleansed the palate and you've had a little bit of wine, and if the wine doesn't work with the olives, that's okay. I don't really think wine does work with olives. It's one of the things that I always think when I used to judge at wine shows, and I don't anymore, for lots of reasons, partly because I feel like I've kind of done that. But water is water's very good for cleansing. Let's do chocolate next. Now, I said milk chocolate and dark chocolate. I played around with white chocolate, but that's not really chocolate because it doesn't actually have any cocoa in it. Here you go, Polly, have some more cheese. See, she's quiet when I'm feeding her cheese. Let's start with the milk chocolate. So I've got some little milk chocolate buds. Jill and Richard have got some little milk chocolate buds. Have a bite of your chocolate. Olives are not great with Pinot Noir. They're much better with Spanish and Italian wines. So if we ever get round to having like a Chianti, we'll come back to the olive tomato story, and that will be also revelationary. Okay, milk chocolate, Pinot Noir. The milk chocolate's quite sweet, quite creamy, and I think it makes the wine disappear. I can taste the chocolate. The chocolate was nice. I have a taste of the wine. It's kind of sour. The cherry fruit's gone away. You'd expect that, cherry and chocolate go really nicely together, but it is a little bit like ice cream shell. It's like a boysenberry ripple ice cream or something like that. So for me, it's a bit of a no, chocolate and Pinot Noir. It does mute the taste, Isaac. So if you don't really like wine, then eating some milk chocolate and then drinking the wine will kind of take the flavour profile down a little bit. It's not really a winning combination for me. I love milk chocolate. I love chocolate, full stop. But chocolate and wine are really difficult to match together. And if you're trying to match chocolate and wine, then often dark chocolate is the way to go. Jill and Richard, would you like one of my dark chocolate almonds? Because I've got 2 and you ate yours thinking they were olives. There you go. You have to share that one between the 2 of you. So let's try. I know it's always a good excuse to eat chocolate. So little sip of water or water cracker or whatever. Don't go on olive now because that's just going to freak your palate out completely. Dark chocolate. If you're going to match chocolate to red wine, dark chocolate has less cream, so less dairy in it. It usually has less sugar in it. It will be more bitter. It will have more cocoa content in it. I think the fact that this dark chocolate also has an almond in it will be possibly in its favour. So have some dark chocolate and have some Pinot. It's so much better than the milk chocolate. It's still not my favourite food and wine match, but it's 90% Lindt chocolate, fantastic. That's almost pure cocoa. And I agree, Isaac and Hannah, that it brings the cherry out, the higher cocoa content, because cocoa naturally has a bit of a cherry, red currant flavour profile. And I think it works actually surprisingly well with Pinot Noir. So I still would struggle. I would still struggle matching chocolate to Pinot Noir. But I think that the dark chocolate works much better with the wine. If I'm eating chocolate on its own, it'll probably be good quality milk chocolate, but sometimes a bit of dark chocolate. But yeah, it's just really interesting to see how the different balances work. And I think some people really liked the blue cheese with the red wine, and I didn't. Some people are really not liking. I think Ben is not enjoying the 95% Lindt. Ben, that is really hardcore. That's quite grainy because there's so little anything except for cocoa in that 95% Lindt. It's really it's hardcore. Jeff, licorice and wine. I have never done it. I have never been tempted to do it. I love licorice. I love wine. But for me, they are completely different creatures. That said, there's a lot of people, no, Amanda, that does not make you weird. It just makes us remember that everybody is different and everyone's palates are really different. What else? I know, Natalia, it's going too long. I'm so sorry. But it got kind of exciting for a little while there. And if your dark chocolate has no dairy, I think, Kevin, absolutely, it would be much better with the Pinot than chocolate with dairy in it. I don't know what the percentage. Mine's a little Haig's dark chocolate almond because that's what I had. I thought it worked quite well. People will disagree, Amanda, but one of the wonderful things about this whole exercise is that there are no right or wrong answers. It's all about what appeals to you and what makes you happy. And if you enjoy eating milk chocolate and drinking Pinot Noir, then you do it. But don't be surprised if some people don't agree with you. And I was going to say, with the licorice, a lot of modern recipes match licorice to duck, and duck is obviously a very popular match to Pinot Noir. So I think in small quantities, the right kind of licorice flavour could work quite well with Pinot, but I think that licorice has a very strong character to it. So I think that's going to make it a little bit difficult. I agree, Renee. The cheddar was absolutely, for me, the best match tonight. Craig, I think a more savoury Pinot Noir, then it'll be even more exaggerated with the things that it works with and it doesn't work with. But, you know, Pinot Noir is a grape variety that works really well with hard and semi-hard cheeses. So Manchego, Osso-Arati are two that I really like. They're sheep's milk cheeses, but cheddar works well. Pinot Noir and chocolate, I'm not a huge fan of, but if you're going to do the match, then make it as dark as possible. Pinot Noir and apple, you can taste an apple and taste the Pinot Noir. If the Pinot is not terrible, then it's probably really good Pinot. But apple really kind of mucks things up. And there's lots of other, I don't even know what you're asking me, Jeff. What's Tilsit? Cheese. Is it, Jill? What sort of cheese is it? It's an English cheese. That'd be right. Jeff is English. So thank you, everyone. I think that probably some of you have to go and have your dinner. We've been going for 45 minutes, 46 minutes. So wine and food matching. It's complicated. We can keep talking about it. Heidi Tilsit. I don't know, Jeff. I don't know. I'll have to try it. I'll get back to you. Have a lovely week, everybody. Barry, we've tasted this wine before. The vintage is 2018. It's delicious. 2018 was a really nice year, actually. And in fact, our single vineyard Pinots from 2018 are also available. We might taste some of those in the next. We have tasted a couple of them already, but we've got one that will work really, really well. Lindt caramel chocolate is sublime with Pinot. I'm not sure, Amanda, but if it works for you, then fantastic. And I think that's the awesome thing about wine tasting, that we just don't know what our taste buds are telling us. And the more we play around, the more fun we have. So next week, sorry, Barry, I didn't answer your question properly. 18 was a terrific year. It was really lovely weather. Everything worked very, very well. And we're very happy with the 18s. I know it's a very general thing, but I can send you a more in-depth vintage note if you like. But I think that the wine is looking terrific, and it's just so nice to drink right now. Oh my God, wow, you guys are like so excited. It's really good. Thank you. Thank you, Aravan. Thank you, Natalia. So next week, we're coming back. What are we tasting next week? Oh my God, the Cabernet, 2006 Cabernet. I do have to tell you guys that was the last of the Cabernet. I've had a couple of people email me and say, I love your Cabernet, can I buy a dozen or two? We used the last 4 dozen of our Moorooduc Estate 2006 Cabernet to go into these tasting packs. So you guys are tasting history next week. It is never to be seen again. If you don't have it in your cellar, this is your last bottle. Open it next week with us. It'll be awesome. I will give you some great food and wine matches. We're going to have lots of fun. Thank you so much. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Barry. Thank you, Jeff. Rob, it is indeed an extinct species. Let's hope that that's the only one that we talk about next week. So lovely to see you all. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your week. Stay safe. Hopefully our Premier will tell us lovely stories on Sunday about coming out of lockdown. But in the meantime, we know that we've got Thursday night drinks. We know that we can get together every week and taste some wine and have a chat. So thanks, everyone. Enjoy.